Hey folks, how's it going? Dr. Stin, eclectic album reviews and general musical meanderings. I'm on location, on vacation, bringing you my favorite albums that I've listened to this year, the mid-year top 12. This collection of 12 albums has been curated throughout the course of this year with a kind of a meticulous tournament process where I eliminate piece by piece by piece to come up with these 12 albums. Now, just in case you've never run to one of these before, I don't do albums of just new releases, although they're included in this list, but it's also some classic albums. As a matter of fact, this year, a fourth of the albums that I started with were all kind of classic era albums that I just never heard before. So sometimes I had to ask the question if the classic albums really stand up to what's happening now and vice versa. It's an interesting process and sometimes takes a lot of reflection, but I think in the end we've got a really cool list of albums, and I would really strongly suggest anybody who's curious at all about going and checking these albums out to do so. These are also not in any kind of ranked order, just an alphabetical order from beginning to end. We will save that complexity for the end of the year top 20. But for now, we'll go ahead and get started with 88 Castro June Ray's Gimda Taisai. Finally, after a couple of years of being exposed to 88 Castro June Ray albums, I had one that kind of rose to the top. Part of it's just me getting used to their unique blend of pop, punk, psychedelia, and also the way that they play with old and new Japanese tropes within their identity. Songs in this album are great. All of them are awesome. There's a lot of energy. There's a melodicism to them that I think transcends the language barrier that I have with the album in particular. And I really, really appreciate the unique personality that each of these guys bring. They're almost like a little miniature anime cast because each character in the band, all three of them, have very unique and distinct personalities that they both put on as part of their identity, but also bring to the table as players. Okay, next up I got Count Basie and Quincy Jones, Basie One More Time. This is a great big band album from a classic era of Count Basie's work, right around the time where he was going to do the Basie at the Sands and the work that he did with Frank Sinatra for Frank Sinatra's live albums. Basie really is at the height of his powers, in my opinion, on this stuff. And the playing, of course, is phenomenal. It's very easy to take for granted when you listen to this, the amount of musicianship that goes into it because it's so clean. These are things that we can do in the studio today and make sound, pristine. But this is 20 guys in the band playing things immaculately well. And as amazing as Count Basie and his band plays these charts, they're also that much more amazing because they come from the pen of Quincy Jones, whose history is long and interesting, and whose recent passing was the inspiration for me to pick up this particular Count Basie album. Okay, next up I got Blood Incantations, Absolute Elsewhere. In almost total stylistic opposition to Count Basie and his group, you got extreme metal group Blood Incantation. I've had some experiences with some of their albums before, but this one really caught on with me at the end of last year. They kind of put it in my back pocket as so. A sudden death round album against Opeth's most recent album, who I really, I'll really advocate for that album. It's a super strong album, but this one kind of wins out for me personally for two things. Number one, it's got really sort of unhinged, almost bordering on out of control playing on it, but it's still reined in by, I think, the musicianship of the members. And it's got this kind of spacey, psychedelic quality to it that really leans heavily into this Pink Floyd atmospheres. Very hard for me to pass that up when you hear that incorporated in this sort of extreme metal setting. So Blood Incantation is kind of a big surprise here at the end, but I stand by it. It's a great disc. Okay, next up is Brendan Burns' Transfigured Earth Parts 1 and 2.
It's getting farther now, but the light that keeps us all alive is bright.
This is two EPs collected into one, but for me personally, it works very well as a singular album. And if you've heard me talk about Brendan Burns throughout this season, you kind of know what I'm going to say about this because he's a very interesting artist who writes really great atmospheric tunes with a kind of a psychedelic overtone. And the psychedelic aspects have more depth because he's a microtonal artist. He uses a tuning system that uses 28 notes in the scale rather than 12, and rather than capitalize on the sort of alien, vertiginous aspects of playing in those kinds of systems, he couches microtonalism sort of in regular harmony, but uses different flavors of chords to bring different emotional responses. So again, if you've got a major chord that can be played 5 or 6 different ways and still function as a 5 chord, each one of those has a different color to it. And Brendan Burns is an exploration to figure out how to make those different tweaks on any given chord, I think, more emotionally valuable for the song. Okay, next up I got Clipping's Dead Channel Sky.
Shades. Round here they wear their mirror shades. Sitting on your soapbox, hoping that the crowds will come back. Hands are clasped in prayer to God now.
I love Clipping as far as current hip-hop goes. You really can't go wrong with it. They're very experimental. They are pushing the envelope in many ways. In the past, they've kind of had themes that revolved around kind of more horrorcore or extreme topics. But in this one, they lean a little bit more towards cyberpunk and current relationship with technology and take a little bit more of a techno edge. There's parts in here where clearly there's the inspiration of things like, Prodigy from the 90s. That kind of music feels like it's sitting at the groundwork of some of these pieces. But at the same time, they have these very experimental sounds that go along with it. There's some tracks in here that are very ambient and are sound experiments that help to break things up in a unique way that's, I think, different from a lot of hip-hop albums. But the anchor for the whole thing for me is Daveed Diggs, his incredible diction, his incredible technique as a hip-hop artist, as a rapper. For me, he sells this so hard. It's almost irresistible. He gives me a very physical reaction to his performances on this album. Okay, next up I got The Cure, Songs from a Lost World.
This is the end of every song that we sing.
Of course, I've known about The Cure for years. I've played some of their songs in cover bands even, but I've never really delved into one of their albums. And this, for me, was a really great introduction, even though I know that there are Cure fans who kind of maybe snub this album a little bit. I really look at it for what it is. Robert Smith's voice and style is very pristinely preserved on this album. Also, worth mentioning that Reeves Gables is the guitar player for The Cure now, who has connections with David Bowie and specifically Tin Machine back in 1989. It's kind of a random hook for that, but he's got a lot of experimentalism and edge to his playing, and I really like the part that he brings to The Cure on this album. Okay, next up I got Death's Dynamic Shrouds, Midnight Tangerine. This is the third for me of a trilogy of albums that Death's Dynamic Shroud released about 1 or 2 years ago. And for me, it's kind of ended up being one of my favorites, or if not my second favorite of the 3. It really leans heavily, I think, towards more standard songwriting than some of their other work, although there are some experimental, tracks on here. Apology to a Witch, for example, is not really a song as much as it is just kind of a chant that sort of gives you a different atmosphere, sets up the last track of the album. The Death's Dynamic Shroud continues their amazing consistency, I think, from everything I've heard them try to do, they seem to succeed at, and even push the boundaries and blur the boundaries between different aspects, different styles of electronic music. Even here, even though I talk about this being kind of a synth-pop album, there's a lot more to it, I think, and Death's Dynamic Shroud is able to encapsulate those things really well into something that's pretty digestible. The next up is Freakos, Where We've Been, Where We Go From Here.
Day before it's time to get another job. 4 feet between.
This is another album that got introduced towards the end of last year and ended up in a sudden death round, not unlike the Blood Incantation album. And I knew at the end of the year that whoever this went up against at the end would really run into some trouble, because I believe this is a really fresh take on emotional independent rock music. I don't really know if I call it emo or not. It doesn't quite have that edge to it, but the performances are definitely emotive, and the way that the songs are structured help to bring out that emotion in the performances. It's got a very live feel to it, and the guy's voice is just amazing. It seems so brittle and fragile, like it could just shatter at any moment, but then like blows up and uses that break in his voice to really bring out emotional and mixing crannies in their music. I think that's really unique to them. Okay, next up is Ghosts, Skeleton.
Starlight, oh child, still we can see like a moon over the peace field. Oh child, stay close to me.
Every time I get into a Ghost album and I kind of dip my toe in the water to see like, well, maybe I'll see what I think about this one, I don't know. They Drag Me In. This album to me, has been one of my favorite finds from this last season. The songs are incredibly catchy and they're so well orchestrated. There's not a blank space in any one of these songs. There's no part where there's just open space. There's a riff, there's a rhythm, there's a melody, something to fill in all the blanks. So there's always something to catch your attention. It's orchestrated incredibly well. And the songs are written incredibly well. They're very singable. They're terribly, terribly memorable. And although I think, again, for some people who are big Ghost fans might see this as an album that's kind of crossing over even further into more accessible territory, I think it serves them extremely well. And it's a guy that has a lot of experience with, 80s AOR rock, Journey in Asia and that sort of thing. This really connects with me on that level as well. Okay, next up is the Monica Rosser Big Band, Witchy Activities in the Maple Death. Another big band album on this collection, but way, way different than what you think of with Count Basie. It is orchestrated not unlike a Count Basie group. 5 saxophones, 4 trombones, 4 trumpets, slightly expanded rhythm section, 6 or 7 guys in the rhythm section, but not like, bebop lines. This is much more along with the lines of math rock and progressive rock with horns. I once told somebody that it's kind of like what would happen if Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Genesis, had Bjork as a lead singer and had a 12-piece band, backing them up. And if that's appealing to you, you've really got to check this album out. This is another one that's, as people have asked me again and again, like, what's the new thing to listen to? What's something that I'm missing? It's this album. I really find it amazing from the beginning to end. It's well produced, it's well arranged, it's well composed, it's well performed, and for me, it's super engaging. Next up, I got Steven Wilson's The Overview.
Bring back broke, sending eggs and flour crashing down to the ground, just like star clusters smashing, but no one will give her a glance. They just shuffle on home in a trance.
Steven Wilson's most recent release is a 45-minute tour de force of progressive rock and kind of getting back to his roots a little bit, although he's always been kind of considered a progressive rock artist. He has at times in his career balked at that label, and then other times he's embraced it. Right now he's in a phase where what he's trying to get across works best in that open-ended format. 2 tracks, 20 minutes each roughly, about mankind's place in the universe. Basically how, your everyday life seems so big, but then you look at stars exploding or the immensity of space and the vastness of the cosmos is actually extremely small. And what better way to get these points across than with progressive rock albums? And if you want to look really closely at this, you can pull on some of the threads of his influences here. The main riff in this piece kind of feels like, a whole tone scale version of the Red riff. There's a part in here that almost functions like what happens at the beginning of Tales from Topographic Oceans with Yes. But overall, it's Steven Wilson's unique take on all this stuff that really brushes it all together. He's a fantastic, unbelievable musician that really is able to make things very intellectually dense from a musical standpoint, but also, relatable enough that when the listens start to pile up and it opens up, it still is rewarding enough to bear up under repeated listens. And finally, I got XTC's The Black Sea.
They're never too far from battlefields so glorious. Out in a world of their own, they'll never come down till once again victorious.
This is one of the throwback albums that finally made it all the way in this. It's really difficult to pass this up. And I've had different feelings about putting these throwback albums on these showdowns because there's always a tendency to gravitate towards the nostalgia. Now, I don't have any real connection with XTC on this particular album, although I have several of XTC's albums. This is a new one to me. But for some people, this is like their moving pictures. For me, like moving pictures, if you put anything up against that, I will hardly listen to the other thing, because moving pictures for me has so much weight. And there's always going to be people who have that going on with it. But for me, this is new music and really has held up super, super well against other things that I listen to. I love its angularity, I love its liveness, and I love its songwriting. And it's a little bit maybe disingenuous for me to say they don't have any connection with these at all, because a lot of these songs I've heard on XTC's Live at the BBC album from back in the day. So I do have some of these songs kind of in my back pocket and I do love them. But these studio versions really, really speak to me super well. It's conquered many albums to get here, and I think it's a deserving spot in this mid-year top 12. And that's it, the mid-year top 12. These 12 albums will go at the end of the year for the finals. They'll go up against a similar set of 12 albums that I pull out of fall, plus some albums that I saved from this season, which you'll see those at the end of this, some other saves here and there. So these albums are a very privileged spot at the end of the year when I put together my final top 20 for 2025. Now, if you're into all this stuff and you like this, please keep in mind that I also keep a parallel viewer's choice bracket along with this. I have viewership that comes twice or 2 times a week, does polls on all these albums. They have their own separate set of top 12 albums that I'm going to be showing next week. And if you're interested in participating in that, please contact me through my Patreon below. We'll definitely get you signed up. And if you want to know when that's going to happen, also please like and subscribe and share this video out with your friends. And also follow me over on Spotify if you want to get caught up. I've got representative tracks from everything I've listened to throughout the course of this year, and it's constantly growing. It's constantly updated. Well worth your time to at least just go check out all this great music that passed through my listening this year. And until you see you next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.
I heard singing at twilight, trailed by belongings. I crawl forward into the clearing dust. Got a huge fire going.
Get to fine arts degree and American coffee with
If I have to be alone, then I should make my mind serene. After all, you're